Okay, good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. It's so nice to see all of you. And we have some new faces here. We have some of the people that are here are actually already taking the online class with me. And then we have some new people that signed up to watch this little intro. So welcome, everybody. And today we'll be going over the introduction to iridology and some history and just a little bit of information. I've got some common iris signs to show you and a few little things that are kind of interesting. And then just, give you a little bit of background information. So what I'd like to do first, since you're all here, is I would like you to take a minute, unmute yourself one at a time and take a minute and just tell me a little bit about yourself, what you do, if you have a business, if you're in the natural, health business, what you do, and why are you here today? Why are you here taking the class? So, who would like to go first? Barbie.
Okay. My name is Barbie Pagnerini Heffernan, and I'm an iridologist and astrologer. I have a website, Iris Skies, and I graduated from American College of Healthcare Science with a degree in complementary alternative medicine. In 2018, one of my mentors after that was Kathy Norris, and then Kathy, and of course Brenda Biliary. I took the animal course of equine and to continue some education, and I'm here today continuing education with Brenda in this class. Well, not this particular class, but the class that she's doing. Thank you. And I live in Dripping Springs, Texas.
Thank you, Barbie. Who would like to go next?
I'll go next.
Okay.
I'm Emma Schwartz. I got started with this. My father did iridology. I'm not really close to him, or he's got a different. Well, he's actually Amish. I grew up Amish, but I'm not anymore. I left that religion, but I'm in contact with him. And then I worked with a really good friend of mine that got started under my father for 2 years in the health food store. She did iridology, and I consulted people. And then that didn't work out the best, so I started my own business a year ago, just out of my home, selling herbal stuff and helping people. So then that's kind of what got me started, interest in, had different clients tell me that I need to read eyes. So I decided I'm going to go for it and try it. I really like Brenda's class, and she did an awesome job teaching. I love listening to her.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Who would like to go next? Jeff.
Oh, wait.
Okay. You got to unmute yourself, Jeff. Here, I'll help you. There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
It's the first time I've tried this on my Mac, so I've only used it on my phone so far. But my name is Jeff Hefner. I had some. I lived down here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I had some health issues a few years ago. So I started to really revamp my diet, and so I just happened to notice that over the last couple years, my eyes had started to kind of clear up and change color. So I just graduated from the Institute of Integrated Nutrition for health coaching. And in another week or two, when we get done finals, I'll be a licensed massage therapist as well. And I practice Reiki, and it just kind of evolved into wanting to know more about why my eyes are changing, and then what my dietary changes have had an impact on. That's why I'm here.
All right. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Who'd like to go next? Deborah.
Hi, I'm Deb Kaler. I'm from Wisconsin. I have done a couple classes with Brenda online. And I've also done some study with iridology with the emotional aspect of it, which is, I think it's all fascinating. I'm also a massage therapist in Wisconsin. I do RTT, which is hypnotherapy for emotional letting go. I use a lot with the essential oils from Young Living. I saw Kathy's speech the other night, and I thought that was very interesting. So thank you for sharing that. But yeah, I think the eyes are amazing, what they can show us. You know, genetic patterns of how we can help our family by helping ourselves. So I'm just excited to learn more. So thank you, Brenda.
Right, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Okay, who'd like to go next?
I can.
All right, Leanna.
Hi, I'm Leanna. I also was a massage therapist. I still am, but last year I had an accident. And so I haven't been doing massage. Iridology I started studying or looking into years ago. Brenda doesn't like it when I give the date, but that's okay. And then, and I retired 2 years ago from 38 years with the government. So it's time. I've got my life together and I can get back into studying healthy things.
All right, thank you for sharing.
Sure.
Who would like to go next?
Good morning. My name is June Baker, and I'm in New Mexico. I am an emotional, spiritual licensed healer. I'm also a board-certified natural health coach, and I have a small practice right in the center of 8 northern pueblos. So that's been an interesting place to outreach to people. I took a class, an introductory class like this, probably not like this, but I took an introductory class to iridology several years ago, and it really drew me in and wanted me to know more. So I researched a lot online. I watched YouTube after YouTube, and my husband saw that I was looking at taking a class, and so he actually found Brenda online, and he's the one that pointed it out to me, and I'm so forever grateful. And I am in her class, her online class, and recommend it highly to anyone that's interested in knowing more about genetics and markers in the eye and what they mean. It's just fascinating. It draws me in. Brenda is an excellent instructor. She's taught us so much, and I'm so grateful that my husband saw her online. I wasn't even looking. I was already determined I was going to take another class. I was getting ready to sell my firstborn child to take it, and found that Brenda had a class that we could afford, and it's just been just wonderful, and I'm so grateful. And thank you so much, Brenda.
Welcome. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being here, everybody. Okay, who'd like to go next?
Hi, I'm Becky Cisneros. I live in near Los Angeles in Laverne, California. Let's see, what do I do? I am a certified Reiki healer. However, I am not practicing. Not practicing on others, I guess I should say. I have been interested in iridology for a while. I used to go to a natural health food store close to my home, and there was a gentleman there who was an iridologist, and it was very fascinating. And the reason why I had initially gone into the health food store was I had a sister that had a terminal liver disease. Unfortunately, she has since passed. But I did get into Reiki to help, but unfortunately she'd already gone. But that's why I'm here. It's interesting. I think that anything natural that we can help with in any aspect of in the medical field, as far as helping others to at least, you know, make some determinations, or at least, you know, move forward and consult with the medical, you know, people that, if you will. But in any event, I've always been into holistic herbal teas and essential oils. I've always tried to do things more naturally than, you know, going to the general medical stuff, or I should say pharmaceuticals. So.
All right, thank you for sharing. Okay, who'd like to go next?
Well, I'm Sanford Short. I live up in Ohio, and I'm actually in the class with online class with Brenda's now. But I've been interested in iridology for a good while, and just haven't had the opportunity to do much of the to studying of it and everything. I've been in the herbal business for about 30 years, I guess, and iridology has just always fascinated me. And so I had the opportunity now online to be able to take it with Brenda. So I'm just been. She is a great teacher. I've really enjoyed the classes. We've had a couple here, and so I'm just here today to get a little more information.
All right, thank you for sharing. Anybody else?
Well, hi everyone. I'm Dr. Thelma Houghton. I'm with I have a business, naturopathic medicine. I am licensed. Also have a wellness as well. Doing two things in one. I am taking Brenda's class because I want to incorporate it in my business, my wellness business. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love her, and I'm learning a lot. And I'm glad to be with the group.
All right, welcome. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to share? Okay, well, let me get started. So this is kind of my plan today is I'm going to go through the introduction, and then we'll pause and take a break, answer your questions, take a break, and then I'll do some history, and then answer your questions, take a break, and go through some of the iris signs that I have put into this little presentation, and then Kathy Norris is going to talk with us, which I'm very excited about. And Kathy's my mentor, and she's the one that's been mentoring me and helping me become certified through IPA, and so as an instructor. So thank you for being here, Kathy. I really appreciate it. And so I look forward to hearing Kathy's talk. I got just a little teeny glimpse of it when we were talking one time. I'm like, oh, we got to get Kathy to talk to us about that. So that's going to be a really fun subject. Okay, so let me go ahead and I'm going to make sure I mute everybody, and we'll get started here. Share my screen. Okay. Welcome to my introduction to iridology talk. It's going to be let's see, we're into it at about a half an hour already, so I'll move at a good clip here. So I own Joyful Living Services. I'm the president CEO of Joyful Living Services. I am a comprehensive iridology instructor with the International Iridology Practitioners Association. And I'll talk a little bit about the association in a little while. I am a certified nutritional consultant with the American Association of Nutritional Consultants. If you want to reach me, you can reach me on my website, my email, or my telephone. And most of you I've spoken to. I recognize your names when you signed up for the class, and most of you we've spoken in the past. But let me give you a little bit about myself. So I started my iridology path in 1983, and unlike a lot of you, it seems like a lot of you are wanting to add this to your business. Jeff said that he was more interested in this for his own personal use, to, see why his eyes are changing, and you may want to add this to your business as well. For me, I pretty much fell into iridology, so I had my own health issues. My first recollection is when I was 12. We were camping, we went out to dinner, and I ate this huge plate of spaghetti. And of course, as a 12-year-old, and it was so good, I ate it all. And, you know, with my system, eating it all like that just really stressed my system. So I was sick for hours after that. That was my very first recollection. And through my adult life, I had all kinds of things, digestive issues. You know, irritable bowel syndrome. I used to swell. I had hives all over my body from stress. You know, I couldn't lay flat on the bed because my back hurt so bad. Just all kinds of problems. And I did go to the doctor, and the doctor said, and I had heartburn. And at that time, the doctor said, well, you know, he didn't really give me any medicine. I was lucky about that, but I was told to take Rolaids. I was told to take, you know, laxatives, and that just, you know, brought on the alternating constipation, diarrhea, you know, and I got to the point where I couldn't even eat out. I would go eat out at the restaurant, and then instantly I would just be sick, and just, it was terrible. I got to the point where I was almost eating baby food. I was not enjoying life at all. So I started dating this guy who, his uncle was a chiropractor, and he had a friend that had endometriosis. Found out that she was seeing this quote unquote iridologist. And in speaking to her, found out that he was looking at her eyes, and he was helping her. You know, the endometriosis, the pain that she was having, and the bleeding, everything was getting better. So I found out about this iridologist, and I thought, well, I'll make an appointment. And he was busy. He was booked. He was completely booked. Couldn't see me. He referred me to Chris Wickert. And at the time, Chris Wickert was in the Bay Area. So I went to see him, and he looked at my eyes. And I, you know, on the way over there, I'm thinking, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. You know, I'm having all these problems, right? But I'm fine. And so I got over there, and he took the pictures of my eyes, and he looked at my eyes, and he just picked my eyes apart. And this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong. I still remember sitting there and just kind of being numb when he was going through all these things and telling me all these problems that I had and all these things that were wrong with me. And I thought, oh my gosh, you know, and then he set up this whole regimen for me, a lot of detoxing, a lot of working with my liver, and, you know, all these things. And I went home and I did everything. And guess what? I got better. And you know, I got better, and I stopped having all these problems. And then I have friends that had problems, and I sent them to him, and they got better. And I thought, I got to learn about this. I got to find out about this. So I called him up one day, and I said, how do I learn about this? And he said, well, Dr. Jensen teaches down in Escondido. See if you can get into one of his classes. And I called, and it just so happened that he was teaching a class, and it just so happened to go down there. And I only signed up for the beginning class. But I loved it. I just loved it. So I stayed, and I stayed for the advanced class, got certified by him, and believe it or not, I had my first client the next week, and I've seen people ever since. And that's where my career started. So I fell into iridology just because of my own health issues. And here I am 30 years later. You know, I'm doing remote readings, I'm teaching, you know, it's a very exciting to be in the field of iridology right now. So I see clients all over the world. I have Joyful Living Services, and my mission is to help people improve their lives in, you know, in whatever way that is, and to teach iridology and spread the word. So this picture down here on the bottom, I volunteered for Dr. Jensen for his birthday. And they gave me a camera. You can see there's other people in the same room. We were all in this little room, and we were all taking pictures. I took hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pictures of eyes. And so that was a long time ago. And but these are things that I remember, you know, from when I was there. So that is how I got involved in iridology, which I'm so grateful that I had those problems, and I was so grateful for Rochelle that I met her and found out, and for Chris, and, you know, all the steps that I've taken. This is a little picture I got off the web that makes me laugh. It makes my daughter cringe, but it makes me laugh every time I see it. You know, all these eyeballs in here with the teacher and the students. And good morning, pupils. Good morning, Miss Iris. I just can see them all smiling, and it just makes me laugh. All right, let's talk about iridology. So we used to believe that there were only blue and brown eye colors. And that's what Dr. Jensen taught. And hazel and green are a combination of the two, of the blue and brown. In iridology today, we can see three eye colors, all right? We can see three. We see blue here on the left. This is a blue eye. Here in the center, this is called a mixed eye. And here on the right is what we call a brown eye. So a blue eye is called a lymphatic iris constitution. And if you're in my Facebook group, you're going to see these terms. I use these terms when people post their eyes. They ask me, can you read my eye? And I'll tell them, that they have a blue lymphatic iris constitution, or I'll tell them that they have a mixed biliary iris constitution. Mixed biliary means it has to do with liver, it has to do with bile, it has to do with digestion. And then a hematogenic, or a brown hematogenic. So a blue lymphatic iris is more likely to have what we call drainage problems relating to kidneys, lymph, and mucous membranes, all right? A mixed biliary iris tends to have more inherent weaknesses in digestion, okay? In the intestines, the bowels, and the autonomic nervous system. And the brown hematogenics are more silent pathologies, such as high blood pressure, blood sugar problems, and blood anemia, and bowel. So here's a really nice picture of a blue eye, and this happens to be my son's eye. And I always use him as a guinea pig when I need to take pictures, because his eyes are so beautiful, so easy to look at. But when we look at a blue eye, to naked eye, people with this constitution, this lymphatic constitution, they'll look like they have blue eyes. They could look like they have green eyes or even hazel eyes, all right? And the characteristics are usually blue, blue-gray, blue-green, and they can have little pigments. So you can see in the Facebook group, or maybe even your eyes, you may have little pigments, orange or yellow or brown, little spots. They look like little spots in the eyes. And this constitution, the tendencies, the genetic tendencies, when we're looking at the eyes now, we're not, okay, let me see how I can explain this. In the past, when we used to look at the eye, we would say that the eyes change. And basically as we detox, as we're working with our body, it would reflect, those changes would reflect in the iris of the eye. Okay, we'd see the spots leave, or we'd see the rings get lighter, or we'd see these little holes right here. They would go away, or they'd form little lines in them. Okay, this is how we used to think iridology worked. And iridology is a science, and it's constantly changing. There are constantly people doing research, and what we're finding is that the eyes really don't change. They change just a little bit, and I'll talk about that later. What changes is the pupil. Okay, so as light comes into the eye, the pupil will contract. And if you think about it, if the pupil contracts, it's going to get very small, and all of these markings in here are going to change, right? They're going to get longer because the pupil's going to get small. It's going to pull all the muscles, all the fibers close into the pupil. Same thing is going to happen if there's not as much light. If there's not as much light, then the pupil is going to enlarge, right? It's going to get big. And then it's going to push all of these markings out, okay? And it's going to make them look wider. So this is what we're finding actually shows most of the change when people say, oh, I can see, healing lines in my eyes, or I can see that this hole over here is smaller, or it's lighter. We're finding that the eyes really don't change. What we're looking at is genetic predispositions. Okay? We're looking at what's coming down through the family. And the eyes are a really great way to help us see what can be, what has been, what is, and what can be going on. And so I'll explain that as we go, but I kind of wanted to just explain that to you as I move further here. This is my eye, and I have a mixed biliary iris constitution. And so notice what I said about when I was 12. And my first recollection is digestive, right? Bowels, problems with IBS, problems with heartburn. most people that have this kind of an eye, that's what they're going to talk about is problems with the digestive system. So, tendencies tend to be liver and gallbladder and pancreas, things like that. So, and here we have a brown eye, and we pronounce that hematogenic. And this usually, you notice when we look at this eye, we can't really see any markings. We can't see lines. We can see this little ring, this couple of rings here. But we really can't see any of the pretty colors. We can't see any of the fiber structure that you could see in the blue eye or the mixed eye. That's because there's a lot of pigment that's just on top of the iris there. And that pigment is the same pigment that you have that tans your skin, the melanin. It's the same pigment. So a brown eye just kind of has this velvety look, okay? And so we can still see the markings in there. We can still look at it, but we can't see all those pretty colors. And with the brown eye, with this hematogenic, then usually the tendencies are imbalance of blood composition, difficulty storing minerals, hardening of lymph tissue, and so on. Does it mean that this person that has those problems? No, it does not. It can mean that they might have a tendency towards it, okay? But it doesn't mean that they absolutely have any of the problems. So that's what we're finding with iridology as we continue researching, is we're looking at the tendencies. So what is iridology? Iridology is a study of the color, so the blue, the mixed, and the brown, the color and the structure of the iris of the eye as it relates to genetic predispositions and the health of the body systems. That is what iridology is. So how is iridology used? Well, like I said, by looking at the iris of the eye, we can see genetic tendencies. Okay? By learning about your genetic tendencies, you can learn what you should eat, what you should drink, what type of exercise you should do, if you're taking the right supplements for your type, what kind of a lifestyle you should lead, where you should live, right? And anything else that'll help you live comfortably in your body. That's kind of the way I explain it, is you want to learn what you need to do so that you can be comfortable and healthy in your body, because that's your body. Iridology does not name any diseases, okay? But it can show us what areas need nurture or what body systems need strengthening. I've had people come to me and say, can you see if I have cancer by looking at my eyes? Or do I have, am I going to get diabetes? Or do I have tumors and things like that? We cannot name diseases. We cannot diagnose, okay? It is illegal. It's pretty simple. It is illegal to diagnose without being a medical doctor, without a license. So we cannot diagnose. And we can't see it anyway. I mean, I can look at your eye. I can't say, ooh, look at that spot right there. You're getting pneumonia. I can't do that. We cannot name diseases. Okay, but let's look at some things that iridology can show us. Iridology can reveal inherent strengths and deficiencies of organs, glands, and tissues. Okay, inherently weak organs do not utilize nutrients as well as they should, nor do they have the ability to discharge toxicity. Iridology can show the potential ability of an organ to react to illness. So if we see white raised signs, this can show us the potential for irritability and or possible inflammation. If we see dark gray or black, this can indicate little or no ability. Iridology can show us familiar patterns. So as I was talking about earlier, things that are coming down the line genetically, right? Like such as gastrointestinal disorders, which I found out my mother has, my grandmother had, my great-grandmother had. I mean, it just comes right down the line, okay? Hypoglycemia, blood anomalies, or even heart problems. Okay, certain foods that a person could have difficulty digesting or utilizing. I wish I knew that when I was 12, but then, you know, when I was 12, I probably wouldn't have listened anyway, right? Okay, it can show us what areas of the spine may have subluxation. We can see that by looking at the pupil, pupillary border. It can show us potential central and autonomic nervous system imbalances. It can show us a potential for circulatory disturbances and a potential for connective tissue weakness. So this could include things like varicose veins, hiatal hernias, hemorrhoids, scoliosis, but there again, if we cannot diagnose, so we wouldn't be able to say, oh, you have varicose veins, or, oh, you have hiatal hernias. We would need to ask. Iridology teaches us what questions to ask our client. And therefore, what's really important is that we use an intake form, right? We have a client fill out an intake form before we see them so that we get their history. So we have the answer, we have the information there, and then as we look at their eyes, we know what questions to ask. It can also show us a potential for glandular deficiencies and a potential for high uric acid levels, serum cholesterol levels, and lymphatic congestion. So really, iridology can tell us a lot, can't it? Now, there are quite a few things that iridology cannot show. It cannot diagnose or give the name of any disease a person may have or have had, and it cannot identify pathology. And this is one of the things that drives me crazy in my iridology group. And I think I've just about got it curtailed because I've really been getting on people because I'll post an eye and then all of a sudden there'll just be this big paragraph. It happened the other day. One of my students posted her eye in the group, and all of a sudden here's this other person saying, I see parasites, and I see, you know, irritable bowel, and I see circulatory problems. I mean, it just went on and on and on. And I thought, oh my goodness, you know, you don't even know this person and you've already diagnosed them. So do not do that. You definitely do not do that. We can't see that. We can't see if a person has had surgery. It will not indicate this precise blood pressure levels. Excuse me. No, that's what blood pressure cuffs are for, right? Is to take your blood pressure. It cannot determine if a person has parasites or indicate the presence of yeast infections. We really can't see that. If somebody wants to know that they have parasites, they can do a stool test. If they want to know they have parasites, they can go have colonics. And yeast infections, there's candida tests. There's all kinds of tests that can be done. Muscle testing, there's all kinds of things that can be done to find out if somebody has parasites or yeast. It cannot confirm the presence of viruses, germ life, or bacterial infections. But there again, there are other tests that can. It can't determine if a woman is pregnant or if she has had an abortion. Nor can it indicate whether there's a tumor and what size it is. Okay, I have a little story. When I was in San Francisco years and years ago, I was talking to a candida support group. And there were people with all different levels of candida yeast infection in this group, from the point to where they just have a little bit and have yeast infections and jock itch and things like that, all the way to the point to where they were so sensitive that they had to quit their jobs because they couldn't handle the cleaning, fluids and smells and carpet smells and all those kinds of things. And this one lady, I brought my camera, and so this is when I was doing the little small introductions. So I would take the pictures and then do like a little 15-minute, really quick little reading for $20. And this one lady came and sat down next to me, and I asked her why she was there, and she said, well, I had breast cancer, and I can't remember which breast. It was one, I think it was her left, but I'm not sure. I had breast cancer in my left breast, and I had to have it removed, and I want to know if I have it in my right breast. And I thought, oh my God, this lady wants me to diagnose her by looking in her eyes, and I can't do that. So I told her, I said, I can't tell you that. I said, I can tell you if you have the same markings in both eyes, and If you do, I can refer you. So I took pictures of her eyes, and guess what? She did have the same markings in both sides, both her right and her left eye. And I just told her, I said, you do have the same markings, and I suggest that you go to the doctor, find out, just find out. Either you do or you don't. So unfortunately, I never heard back from her. I didn't hear back, so I don't know what happened. Okay, iridology cannot show us if a person has kidney stones or gallstones. I really should do a study on that, but I don't want to because I've had 2 kidney stones. And of course, when you have a kidney stone, you have so much pain. You're not going to be looking at your eye going, well, let me see, is there a mark in my kidney? Or okay, it cannot show us. It can't give us the exact cholesterol or uric acid levels in the body. That is for a blood test. It can't determine whether or not there's hemorrhage, where it's located, unless it's located in the eye. I do have people submit pictures in my iridology group that have broken blood vessels, and they ask me what causes that. It can't show if it's arteries. It cannot show us if arteries are blocked or hardened. Though we could see it through the sclera. We could see a potential for it in the sclera. And just so you know, in case you're not familiar with that term, the sclera is the white part of your eye. So with iridology, not only do we look at the iris, but it's good also to look at the white part and look at the veins that are in the sclera and the pretty colors that show up in there. We also cannot distinguish gender or age of a person. We can't predict a person's lifespan, and we cannot predict impending time of death. There's more things that it can't show. We can't tell whether or not a person needs surgery. We cannot, it cannot locate a specific tooth that could be causing a problem. We cannot show if a person has ingested poison or been bitten by a poisonous spider or snake. And if they have, they should go to the hospital. So something that is very, very, very important in iridology is the right words to use. And first of all, of course, we can't diagnose, all right? We cannot diagnose. But like I said, we use iridology to analyze or assess predispositions and genetic inheritance. And most countries do not have governmental regulation or acceptance for iridology. So we say things like historically, maybe, possibly, can. And if you're going to look in somebody's eyes, even if it's your friend, even if it's your friend or family member, always ask, to look in their eyes, because it's important. When you look in somebody's eyes, you're actually looking at their health, you're looking at their body. And you are entering sacred space when you look at their eye. So always ask, hey, you have beautiful eyes. I've known you for a really long time. I just took this little intro about iridology. Can I look at your eye? I want to see what color it is. And well, I can already see it's blue, but I want to see if you have any little spots. Chances are they're going to say yes anyway, because they're curious. But this is really important that you do that. And have reverence, honor, and respect. Always look at somebody's eyes with reverence, honor, and respect. Okay, because that's their personal self. Now, I'm a member of IPA, and members of IPA are dedicated people who are sincerely concerned with the interest of all who come into contact with the profession. We hold everybody at a very, very high level, and it's very important to hold people with high expectation and to have reverence, honor, and respect. So now this is the history, and I'm going to go ahead and stop the share and let you unmute yourself. And let's see if anybody has any questions. Samantha's here. Hi, Samantha.
I can hear you now.
Does anybody have any questions? No questions? Okay, does anybody need a break? I don't see anybody shouting. Okay, I'll keep going then. All right, let's talk a little bit about history. Okay, history of iridology. I bet I'm going to teach you some things here that you haven't heard before. I never knew that iridology was all over the world. So we have, iridology is rooted in ancient history and ancient cultures. It's an ancient practice, which dates back more than 3,000 years in China, Egypt, and India, where it was first used to study the iris and its relation to the organs and systems of the body. And as science evolves, we need to keep pace and we need to change. And that's something that I'm noticing a lot of people are having a hard time with understanding that iridology is like any other science. It's moving forwards and we're continually learning, continually researching, and we're finding out more and more and more about what the eyes can show us or don't show us that we thought was true in the past. So put some countries here where iridology iridology has some history. Australia, China, Egypt, Greece, India, Italy, Europe, and of course, America. So I went through and found information in my research. And if you're interested in history, I know there's a lot of history buffs out there. If you're interested in history, you can do all kinds of research on iridology. So if you're really into that, but look, I took this all the way back to 1333 BC to King Tut. And it's thought that in 1922, Howard Carter discovered silver plates while exploring King Tut's tomb. And those plates were thought, they thought that the silver plates are some of the first lessons of iridology. Isn't that amazing? It's amazing that iridology could go all the way back. So it was from there that iridology spread to Africa, to Babylon, Tibet, China, Europe, and other areas. That's amazing that it goes all the way back. So that was the first. Now, I want to talk about Hippocrates just for a little bit. Hippocrates was known as a Greek physician. He's referred to the father of Western medicine. He wrote the Hippocratic Oath, and this is an oath of ethics that is historically taken by physicians. So when doctors receive their license, they take this ethical standards oath called the Hippocratic Oath. You can go online and you can find this and read it. This is what they need to swear by and sign. Okay, most of us have heard of Ignaz von Pessely, and he is 1826 AD to 1907 from Budapest, Hungary. He was a Hungarian physician, and he's known as the father of Western iridology. When I learned iridology, I heard about the owl. The story was that the owl got stuck in von Pessely's tree, and von Pessely freed the owl. When he freed the owl, he noticed a line form in the bottom part of the owl's eye. You can see this little line down here in this picture. And the story goes that the owl stuck around, and as the owl healed, the line changed, it became green. And so unfortunately, no one's been able to replicate this in a wild bird. And it really brings up the question is, would a wild bird really hang around and let you look at his eye? So in 1881, he published a book, Discoveries in the Field of Natural Science and Medicine, which is a guide to the study and diagnosis from the eye. And it was in this book that von Pessely built up the first known accurate chart of the iris. And I'll show you this chart now. Pastor Niels Lilquist, 1851. He was a priest, a healer, a doctor, and one of the fathers of iridology. He wrote quinine in iridology changed the color of the iris. And I found this interesting. I formerly had blue eyes. They are now a greenish color with reddish spots. And so that's very interesting because we've learned through research that the eyes, usually as people get older, they get more pigment and more spots. Usually the spots don't go away. Usually you get more spots. So I found that very interesting. And he's got the diagnosis from the eye is another book that he published. Pasteur Falk from 1856 in Germany. He was a Protestant pastor, and what I found interesting about him is that he developed what's called the felt cure. And the felt cure, you can look this up on the web as well, it has the following basic elements: the felt sitz baths, light and air baths, clay baths, and ground sleeping. And ground sleeping is laying down on and sleeping on the ground at night. So he was accused of causing bodily harm in 16 lawsuits. And amazingly so, he would diagnose patients only by looking at their irises. Now, even though he was never convicted. He was accused of manslaughter, but he was always acquitted. And he wrote a book called The Eye: Diagnosis Based on the Principle of Pastoral. Rudolf Schnabel. In 1882, he raised the standard of eye diagnosis. And he is the person that the Schnabel, I have a hard time saying his name, sorry. The beak lacuna sign has been named after him. If you learn iridology, you will learn what a beak lacuna is. But that is where that iris sign came from. Joseph Angerer, 1907 in Germany, and he compiled a 12-volume work on ophthalmotropic, I have a hard time with some of these big words, phenomenology. Okay, it sets forth the pathology signs to be read. And this is interesting, not only in iris, but also the sclera, which is the white part of the eye, the cornea, the conjunctiva, the eyelids, you can use the eyelids, the eyebrows, and the eyelashes. So he did research on everything pertaining to the eye. And that's amazing. All the way back in 1907. Joseph Deck, 1914, Germany, he founded the Iridology Research Institute in Germany. And he wrote books, Differentiation of Iris Markings, and in 1982, a book called Principles of Iris Diagnosis. And there's that word that we do not use, diagnosis. We don't use that word. Actually, I had somebody contact me the other day on Facebook and ask me if I would diagnose them. And I'm like, ooh, sorry, can't do that. I can tell you about your eyes, but I can't diagnose you. Okay, Theodore Craig, 1900s. He claimed that iris diagnosis is the science of diagnosing illness from the marks and color changes in the iris of the human eye. And he developed that from Ignaz von Peslin's research. And he wrote a book called Fundamental Basis of Iris Diagnosis. And here is Dr. Jensen, we all love. He was a wonderful man. He used to always say everything was wonderful. You know, you talk to him and everything was wonderful. And when you leave his class, you're saying everything is wonderful. So Dr. Jensen lived from 1908 to 2001. He pioneered the science of iridology in the United States, and he developed one of the most comprehensive iridology charts, which shows location of organs as they reflect in the iris of the eye. He wrote the book, The Science and Practice of Iridology, and a lot of us have his books and his charts, and some of us still use his chart today. Dr. Harry Wolff. He, along with Dr. Bill Caradona, started the National Iridology Research Association, the NIRA. And Dr. Harry Wolff was the first president of the NIRA, and the NIRA became what is now known as the International Iridology Practitioners Association, or IPA. And there's a picture of Dr. Bill Cardona. He's a naturopathic doctor and pharmacist. He, there again, started the National Iridology Research Association, and which became IPA. He was IPA's second president, and worked with Peter Gull as an IPA iridology research team for many years, and he still advises IPA today. So let me show you some of my favorite charts. There's so many charts out there. You can go online. If you just go to Google and put in iridology chart, there's so many charts available. And touch the screen here. This is the first iridology chart by Ignaz von Pessel. If you look at it, even here it says lung, right? I can't read most of these words, but you get the idea. This is probably knee, foot, and here's lung over here. So even then, here's arm. Even then they had, he's got the markings that we use today for the chart. I thought this was really cool. This is an iris drawing by Niels Liljequist. I don't know what these markings mean, but I thought it was a neat chart. Look at this chart. It looks like wheels. This is a chart developed by Peter Thiel. Like I said, you can go online if you're interested in charts. You can go look, and you can see all these things. There's so many charts. I just picked a few of my favorites. Now this chart is starting to look more like, the current charts that we're using. This is a chart developed by Henry Lindlayer, and here you can really see some of the words that we use now: kidneys, knee, foot, groin, pelvis, spleen, the arm, chest, the lungs, the brain, the stomach, and the colon, and the back. And you can really see the sympathetic nervous system, the heart, and so on. And so here the chart is becoming, you can see the progression. It's kind of slowly becoming what we are used to using here. I like this chart. This is kind of cool. Different colors. Here they started putting colors in here. This was Heinrich Hentz from Germany. And I found this interesting. This area here that's squared instead of round. This is called the collarette, I guess, here, and it's square. So I thought that was kind of interesting. This is actually my favorite chart, I have to tell you. I really like this chart because it has pictures of the face, pictures of the body here. This is a chart from Chile. And you can, there's no questions. You can see the face, the spine, you can see the legs, and the lungs, and the brain. And here we have Dr. Jensen's chart. This is Dr. Jensen's chart, which I've used for many, many years, And this is a great little chart that shows, it doesn't show everything, but it shows a lot of the areas of the body, a lot of the reflex areas. And you can see, I'm going to talk about this chart a little bit because it's a little clearer than the other chart that I have in here. But here you can see this here, this is the spine here. And you can see the areas here, the kidneys and the adrenals and the ovaries and the spleen, the heart, the lung, upper and lower. These little lines here, these are the ribs. This is the nipple here. And you can just take your time. I will provide these slides to you, so you'll have the slides, and you can, if you don't have the chart, you can study these charts. This is the stomach here in the center, and the colon, the small intestines, and so on. I have a chart later on that I'll go over. This is Ellen Jensen's chart, and it took me a while to get used to it when I first received it, but I love this chart. This chart is amazing, and I love that she color coordinated. It makes it so much easier to find the different areas. And also she added quite a few areas to this chart that Dr. Jensen didn't include. And it makes it a lot simpler to be able to look at the eyes and look at the markings and find out where they are in the chart. So I really like this chart. This is the chart that I use. This is a chart we use in our classes. And I think this is a, if you're going to buy an iridology chart to use, this is the one that you want to use. So what we're doing here is we're combining the best of all iridology. So North America has 3 styles of iridology: Jensenian, Rayid, which is basically emotional iridology, and constitutional. So, like I said, Dr. Jensen taught that there were only 2 true eye colors, blue and brown, which actually I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. And in iridology today, we see the 3 colors, which is what I showed you: blue, the mixed, and the brown. And we have Rayid, or emotional iridology. Denny Johnson teaches that. And then Jim Vergas, he teaches behavior iridology. And then constitutional iridology, I've listed some things here. It originated with Joseph Deck. It's used by a lot of MDs in Italy, Germany, and Russia as a screening tool. I really wish they'd use it here, but they don't. There's a lot of medical studies being done. It teaches us that the eyes are a reflection of genetic or inherent structure in the body. And this makes so much more sense to me. You know, when I learned about this, I thought, okay, I'm gonna try this for a while. I'm gonna, because I used to do Jensenian iridology. But, well, I'm gonna try this for a while and see, if it makes sense. See what my clients say, because I was getting a lot of people coming back and saying what I was saying wasn't making sense, or I'd ask them the questions and they go, no, that's not true. No, that's not right. No, So I thought, well, I'm going to start transitioning to this and use it in my practice, use it with my clients, use it on Facebook, and see what happens. And I got so much more yes when I started using this. I'll tell somebody about their eyes and they'll say, yeah, that sounds right on. Or how did you know that about me? And so this really makes sense. It's not transitional. So that means that the markings most of the time will come into the eye, not leave the eye. So it does not give us the answers. It tells us what questions to ask. Okay, and we can see iris and sclera changes. They can continue to become visible with time. Okay, as we age. And background information is very important. So readings are not done what's called cold. In other words, we always want to have people fill out those intake forms. Really important for those of you that are taking classes and learning and practicing iridology. So I want to talk a minute about IPA. This is a picture that was taken at one of the conventions, and I'm here, right there. There I am. And so the mission and the vision, you can go online and look at their website. The mission and vision of IPA is to increase knowledge concerning art and science of iridology and to provide a forum for the exchange of information and research with the goal of promoting excellent international iridology standards. Basically, we want everybody on the same page. We want to be speaking the same language, teaching the same thing so that everybody is on the same page. And, there's a lot of people out there, just like I talked about that person in my Facebook group, that are saying things that are old, that they're saying things that aren't true, they're diagnosing, and people can get themselves in a lot of trouble, and they're giving out misinformation, and it gives iridology a bad name. So I think it's really important to be on the same page, to know what to say, to know how to say it, and to use iridology the way it's supposed to be used, and to be current with research, learn. This is IPA is a really great organization for me because I'm around like-minded people. I'm working with people who have the same love that I have, which is iridology, and there's a lot of people out there like I am that are doing a lot of research with their clients, and we're all sharing this information. So there's continuing education. We're at the forefront and we're learning, and so I think that it's really important. You can I do have a paper that has the history, and if you're interested, I can provide that to you with more information. So this is a chart that I made here that I wanted to show you. If you want to learn more, you can learn more. These are people that are doing research that I know, more and more people that are doing research. And Dr. Ellen Jensen, Denny Johnson with RAID, David Pesic with the International College of Iridology. He holds every October, he holds a big Congress that you can attend. I don't know about this year with this virus. You know, there's a lot of change going on, but you can contact him. Tony Miller, she's in Australia. She works with integrated iridology. Then you can go onto the IPA website, and everybody that is an IPA certified comprehensive iridologist, you can look for them in your area. Jim Burgess teaches behavioral iridology. There's emotional iridology courses. Mercedes Colburn, she's here in California. She teaches through the Eye International, she teaches animal, equine, canine, and feline. And so there's a lot of ways to learn. You can learn from me. You can learn from any of these people, depending on what you're interested in learning. And I'll tell you right now that you start learning about iridology, and if it piques your interest, that's it, you're hooked. You will love iridology. And you want to keep learning. You will learn. There's always something new to learn. There's always somebody out there that knows more and has more experience and can see something that you can't see. I mean, a good example, I'm going to talk about Kathy. A good example is a lady walked into my house that was purchased camera from me. And she had a little smart eye camera that just fits right on your phone. And she's like, oh, would you like to take a picture of my eye? You want to try it? I'm like, sure. You know, so I took a picture, and then, you know, I had the eye and I looked at it and there were some markings, and I showed them to Kathy, and she's like, well, that's what this, you know, is. I'm like, huh? How did you know that? So, you know, she taught me something, you know, that I hadn't known in just a couple of minutes. So we all come from our own experience. We all have our own clients and are doing our own research, and we're all learning, but we still all want to come and be on the same page. So that is what I think. Okay, this is the iridology chart. This is a picture of the iridology chart that I have. And what I was going to do here is explain it to you the way I explain it to my clients. And so when we look at the iridology chart, we know that the right iris, this is the right, okay, and this is the left. This is the right pupil and the left pupil. The right iris shows the right side of the body, and the left iris shows the left side of the body. Most of the time. Once in a while, we'll have something that'll switch. I've seen that. But in the center of the body, you have your stomach and your intestines. So here you see, this is the small intestines. This is the right side and the left side. So the small intestines come down, cecum goes across, with the ascending colon, transverse colon comes across, descending colon comes down, sigmoid and out. Okay. On the outside of your body, you have your skin. So this ring right here, this blue ring right here, this is the skin. Inside that is the lymph and circulatory system. Okay, at the top of the body, you have your head, and this is the brain here from 11 to 1. This is the left side, this is the right side. Everything else is in between. So here we have the spine. This is the right side of the spine. This is the tailbone. This is the atlas. This is the left side. Okay, with kidneys, adrenals, ovaries, spleen, pancreas, solar plexus. You can go through here and look at all these. Here's all the abbreviations down here. You can go through here. Here's the thyroid, heart, pancreas, liver, gallbladder, ovaries and testes, and so on. And so by looking at the iris, and we can see spots and markings, and depending on where they land on this chart, this can tell us where they reflex. It's a term that we use. So you've got a copy of the chart there. Let's talk about how the eyes change. Since there's so many people out there saying that, oh, you know, I used to have brown eyes and now I have blue eyes. There's this one lady that did this whole video about how her eyes went from brown to blue. And, you know, and people think they send me that video. Actually, I haven't got it for a while. But so fibers, the way the eyes can change, and we found this by doing research. Fibers may appear lighter or darker. A cholesterol ring, which is called the corneal arcus, may form Pigment may appear overnight, but usually before 7 or 8 years old. And pigments, the way they look is there might be a yellow or an orange or a brown spot that shows up in the iris. The pupil size and the shape can change, okay? This can give the appearance that the iris has changed. Pupils can flatten or become distorted, so they can be flat on one side, flat at the top, flat on the bottom. And usually you don't really see it just on your everyday life. You usually have to actually study the pupil to see some of these signs. Transversals can appear and they may become what's called vascularized. Transversals are usually white fibers that they go across the grain of the iris, and they stand out. So the iris, we've learned, is accumulative, not dispersive, and that's from Tony Miller. And what that means, again, which I've already mentioned, is that the iris will see more markings, or the rings will get darker rather than the markings leaving the eye. We gain new markings during the course of our lives, but the structure and color stay basically the same because that is our genetic, right? That's our genetic disposition. And irises can appear lighter or darker due to the fluids, okay, the aqueous humor of the eye, which is 90%, 98% water. So I get a lot of people saying, oh, well, why do my eyes, one day they'll be lighter and one day they'll be darker? And that explains that. So here, I wanted to show you these pictures. These are my eyes. Well, this is my left eye. And you can see I've got 2006, 2012, 2016. I would like all of you, if you feel like it, if you want a challenge, to study these and tell me if you see really any change, because these are my eyes. When I went down to Dr. Jensen, he read my eyes. He told me I had blue eyes. With mixed eyes, which is what I have, we have the blue underneath, right? And then we have the pigment on top. And so therefore you can see, if you look here, you can see orange in the middle, right? And this is a pigment on top. And then here in between these rings, you can see some kind of green, blue. Well, that's the blue underneath, so you can see it coming through. And take into account when you look at these that the pupils are different. So see this pupil, this is larger. This pupil is larger than this picture. So this eye here, 2012, looks a little different than 2006 or even than 2016. But really, if you study these pictures, you're going to see they haven't changed. Well, how is that possible? My life is completely different than it was in 2006, completely. How is it that, and I eat differently, I sleep differently, I live in a different place? Well, no, I don't. I bought this house in 2000, so I live in the same place. But how is it that my eyes haven't changed? Well, the answer is because this is who I am. This is who I am. And I have had to learn how to live in my body. You know, before I got into iridology, and I was having all that pain, I had pain everywhere. And it was breaking out in all those hives. And, you know, I couldn't lay flat on the bed. I didn't understand why. I didn't know anything about health at all at that point. I had to learn what to do for my body so that I could be comfortable. Well, I found out that I needed to do massage. I found out that I needed to do relaxation. I found out that chiropractic. I found nutrition. I found all these different things and herbs and things that helped me. And so now I know what to do when I start getting pain. I know what to do. You know, I know how to live in my body so that I'm comfortable. And I really think that's what iridology really is all about. It's really all about learning your body and learn what you need to do so that you can live comfortably in your body. That's really what I think it comes down to. And here's my other eye, my right eye. And so I've had plenty of years to study my eyes and figure out why I have what, and what's going on, and why it's going on. And, so My eye has not changed. So I have a mixed eye. Okay, now I was going to go through some common iris signs. Let me stop the share and let me allow you to unmute. Does anybody want to take a break? Does anybody have questions? Go ahead, Thelma.
So with your mixed eye, you will see blue tendencies under your mixed eye as well?
No, remember the mixed eye is going to be a mixed biliary. So the tendencies are going to be digestive.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I have a
Nice to have you here, Leanna. I'll provide you with the video so you can watch. Have a great day. Yes, you have a question?
Yes, I did. Do you know if the canine feline iridology is similar?
It is similar, and I do have a chart
Interesting.
for that. It is similar, and I don't have a chart printed. But if you will go ahead and send me an email, and I can, or just send me a chat on Facebook, and I can
Okay.
show that to you. You want me just to send it to you? I can make a note. Would you like me to send
Sure,
it to you?
that's fine. Sure.
Also, look up Mercedes Colburn, Colburn. Look her up on the web, and the company is called Through the Eye International. Through the Eye International. Okay. And she's probably got charts online too, but I can do that. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Brenda, I just wanted to say that the more I listen to you, the more I review, the better it gets, and I pick up more. So this is great.
Good, good. You know,
thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, there's only so much you can, when I teach these classes, each time it's going to be, I might say something different. There's just so much information to share, and there's just no way to share all of it, right? You just can't remember all of it all the time. And there's so many stories and so many things that have happened that, good things, scary things, but there's so much stuff, so much to learn. So I'm glad you came today. Glad you're a part of it.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a question? Shall I keep going? Just keep going. Let's see. I want to make sure I should have plenty of time for Kathy. Okay, so what I want to do now is talk about some, I call it common iris signs. There's so many signs that we can see in the eyes. And so what I did is I went through and I just picked some of my favorites, and the ones that really you could see in your eye if you just went and looked in the mirror. And the first one is what's called a circulatory ring. This is a blue, and I'm not going to move my cursor around a lot, but I made arrows. And so you can see where the arrows are pointing on these slides. And the arrows are pointing to the blue ring that is outside the iris. So I'll move my cursor. So this blue ring right here that's on the white part, on the sclera. And the ring usually goes all the way around the eye. When we see this can suggest circulatory deficiencies in the body, all right? So we normally would ask somebody if they have cold or numb extremities when we see this. And I'm gonna have to tell you, I see this 99.9999% of the people. I don't want to say 100%, but chances are it is. But I see this in almost everyone. Most everybody has this circulatory ring. And since I work in the health food stores, I work at Sunrise Natural Foods in Auburn and Roseville, and I'll see 10 people in one day, and I'll see the same sign over and over and over and over. You know, at the end of the day, I just kind of thought, why didn't I just have a recording on the table? I could just play it over and over and over and over. And this is one of those things that I see over and over and over. And I don't know if it has to do with really that people, because you know, people exercise all the time. I'll see the sign in somebody that runs. I'll see it in somebody that doesn't run. I'll see it in people that have cold hands and cold feet, and even people that don't. And I'm wondering if it has to do with not getting enough oxygen. Maybe people aren't deep breathing and they're not getting enough oxygen into their blood. And because I do see this all the time. I see it all the time when my clients in health food, when I work in health food stores. Oh yes, the lovely contraction furrows. This is my eye. So when you looked at my eye, you should have got scared. Because I have all of these rings. And all of these rings, it looks like somebody took a knife and just kind of cut around, you know, in my eye. They took a knife and just started cutting all these rings. And if you look at these rings, you can see they kind of start and stop and start and stop. And I have a lot of them. You know, we can count them, you know, if we want to count them. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, gee, this explains why when I was 12 years old, I was stressed out. And these are called contraction furrows. So these are caused by a buckling of the fibers over generations of time, are thought to indicate genetic tendency or tension and stress. It explains it right there, a genetic tendency towards tension and stress. And what did I say that I had problems with? I had pain everywhere. I couldn't lay flat. You know, I was on the edge of a nervous breakdown. I was so stressed out. It was a complete stress bomb. And I was dating at the time, which made it even worse because we all know how tough dating is. And, you know, my personality type is called anxiety tetanic, and this is an I type, a subtype. So not only do I have the mixed biliary eye, which is both the blue and the brown, and that tells me that genetically I can have these digestive issues, which I already know I do. But then when I look at the subtype and I see all these rings, then I know that I'm what's called an anxiety tetanic. So I get very anxious, and I have to keep busy all the time. These classes, teaching these classes is the best thing for me because I'm the type of person that if I'm not busy, I'll find something to do and I'll keep myself busy. And these classes, I love teaching these classes. I love iridology, it's my passion. I love learning about it. I love teaching it. I love people. And I'm the type of person that needs to be around people, either over Zoom or, and with this virus stuff going on, I can't be around people. So teaching these classes has really kept me really happy and really going and really energized and helps me use that nervous energy that I have. Because otherwise I'd be like zing, zing, zing around. So if you know anybody like that, A-type personality, somebody that needs to be busy all the time, ask them to look at their eyes. See if they'll let you look, and if they will, see if you see those rings, and then you'll know a little bit more about them. So this type tends to hold in their tension in their muscles. So I need lots of massages. For me, the best thing to do is get a massage every week. And chiropractic is important, and finding something fun to do, walk. Usually after I teach one of these classes, I go on a 3-mile walk up here in the foothills, up and down the hills, and take my dog and go walk. And it helps to relieve tension. So that's what these contraction furrows are. These are called contraction furrows. And It looks kind of like, you know, when you go hiking, you go walking, you go hiking, and you go to a national park and you see cut trees that have been cut down, and they have the rings, and they tell you to count the rings to see how old the tree is. Well, there you go. There's my tree rings. That's what it looks like, tree rings. So now what'll happen is the next time you go hiking and you see a tree that's cut, you're gonna look at it and go, God, that looks like an eye. Look at that, that looks like those rings. After this little intro, you'll never ever look at an eye the same again, ever. And even when you watch TV, you're gonna start looking at going, look at that actor's eye. Or look, this person's putting on makeup. Look at that, there's a little spot there or a ring there. You'll never be able to look at it different. Okay, for the same. This little arrow here is pointing to what's called the lacuna, okay? And this is a very common sign in the eye. And the lacuna can be what's called open or closed. So it represents an organ if it's open, it represents an organ that absorbs nutrients and releases toxins more easily than if it was closed, okay? If it's closed, meaning encapsulated, so this is like closed. It has a circle all the way around it, whereas this one here is open, doesn't have a capsule around it, okay? If it's closed, then it represents a genetic deficiency in an organ, and it can or may not be causing a problem. And all of these things that we see in the eyes, we need to always ask. We always ask if there are problems. And here is what's called lipemic diathesis. And I'm sure most of you have seen somebody that has a ring around their eye. It could be white, it could be kind of yellowish like this. And I had somebody that submitted one of these pictures to me the other day, really bright white, and said, you know, what is it? I've never seen this before. So this is what's called lipemic diathesis. It is a corneal marking, and it is not, it doesn't go away. It does not go away. So diathesis means in a state of having a hereditary predisposition to a disease. Lipemic, okay, or lipemia. Lipemic is to be in a state of having lipemia, or the presence of fats or lipids in the blood. So we know what that means, right? Hypercholesterolemia or high cholesterol. So let's ask you this. If I see this ring in the eye, and I know we call this lipemic diathesis, is it okay for me to go up to the person and say, hey, you have high cholesterol? After listening to me talk for the last hour, I've been talking for an hour, and listening to what I've told you, is it okay to go up to somebody and they'll say, maybe somebody will come to you and say, hey, I heard you were taking a little class about the eyes. You see my ring? Do you know what that is? And you see this ring. Is it okay for you to say, yeah, you got high cholesterol? No, it's not. Okay, you could tell them to go have a blood test, or you could ask them, oh, do you have problems with cholesterol? Do you have high cholesterol? Okay. Okay, so this is a corneal sign. It is not an iris sign. It's composed of lipids or fats. And ophthalmologists call this sign a corneal arcus, corneal opacity, or arcus lipidus. So when it appears at the top, up here, when it appears up here at the top, it can indicate a tendency for poor circulation to the head, because see, this is the head area. When it appears at the bottom, it could indicate poor circulation to the feet. And when it appears here, what's in the inside by the nose, it can indicate a tendency towards poor circulation to the lungs and the chest and the heart. And when the ring goes all the way around, like this one does, it's called an annulus. It is permanent. It does not go away. It's permanent. Now, I have a little bit of this ring in my eye, and just a little bit. And I've been kind of watching to see if it gets darker and darker and darker and see what's going on. It hasn't really changed. But my dad has circulatory issues. My grandma had circulatory issues. My whole dad's side, they're all in Italy, they've all had circulatory issues. So I'm just kind of watching and seeing what my body does, and kind of curious to see. So the tendencies are high cholesterol and fats in the blood is basically what this is and what it can mean. Put arrows all over this picture. Pigments, all different kinds of pigments, colors and pigments. And when we see, this is one of my clients, and all these people are my clients, but this person, when he came in, he was having bladder problems. He was having prostate problems. And his eyes were amazing because he has, you know, everybody has two different eyes, but usually they're pretty similar, and his were completely different. I guess I could have put both of them up here, but he had this eye that had all of these pigments, and his other eye had like one, you know, and it was just amazing to see his eyes. But when we see these pigments, you know, we need to know what it means, and all of the colors mean different things. So when we see yellow in the eye, this can tell us there might be a potential tendency towards kidney issues, possibly. Orange could tell us maybe that the person might have some blood sugar issues, okay? Ups and downs in blood sugar. When we see fluorescent orange, this can tell us that there could be problems with the gallbladder. When we see brown, this could tell us there may be problems with the liver, okay? And if we see black, well, then that could tell us that there's some tissue changes going on, possibly. And that person probably needs to go to the doctor and find out, okay? And so these are all tendencies. So here we can see the different colors, right? We can see the dark brown, black, here's brown. We can see orange here. We can see yellow in here. You see all these pretty colors. It's a beautiful eye with all these lovely pigments. So that's a very, very common. I see this all the time with clients. Now, and everybody has, some people may have one or two pigments. Some people may have a lot of pigments. Some people may have none. You know, it just really depends. And of course, you can't see these in a brown eye. Although, like you can see the black pigments in a brown eye. Sometimes, excuse me. But this is a very common iris sign. And this is another one that's very common. This is what's called a scurf and it makes the eyes really pretty when you stand in front of a person. It almost looks like they took a highlighter or a black pen and just kind of drew a circle around their eye. You see it a lot on TV if you watch television and you see a commercial where one of the models is putting on mascara. You'll see these rings. Now, see, you won't be able to watch TV the same way anymore. But you'll see these rings, and you can see, I made a little snippet there where you can really see the difference. And so this is a dark rim on the outer edge, and it's caused by a thinning of the iris fibers. So you can see, if you look over here in the snippet, you can really see there's, you know, the fibers, there's a lot of space in here between fibers. And it's a genetic sign. It does not go away. It does not go away. And it can indicate a potential tendency for skin conditions such as acne, psoriasis, eczema, things like that. That's a really pretty eye, isn't it? It's so vibrant, so bright. I put this picture in here. It's called Tofi. And here you can see the spot that I put the little arrow to. Here's little spots. It goes all the way around. These are called Tofi. So it's spots. And it kind of looks like a rosary. If you think of a rosary or a string of pearls. And they just kind of look like cotton balls or little clouds that are just kind of sitting on top of the eye. Okay, these are called tophi. And one of them is called a tophus. Many of them are called tophi, and or a collective is called tophi, and many are called flocculations. It used to be called a lymphatic rosary because it looks like a rosary, if you think of a rosary, right? And this, when we see this, this can indicate a potential genetic tendency for lymphatic congestion and stagnation. Okay. It is there at birth, and it does not go away. It's a genetic sign. It can become more yellow as people get older. So it does not go away. I thought it'd be fun to talk about pupils. Talk about pupils a little bit. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but pupils are really important in iridology. And like I said at the very beginning, we used to believe that the markings in the eyes changed, but what we really understand now is that the pupils are what change, right? Look how big these pupils are. I mean, they're huge. I actually have pictures of somebody that I used to work with where his pupils, I'll find them, maybe I'll find them sometime. His pupils are all the way out here, all the way out here. And he was a massage therapist that I shared an office with for years. And, you know, when you shine the light in the eyes like this, the pupils are supposed to contract, right, to protect the eye. And they didn't contract. So what does that mean when they don't contract and people have large pupils? So children tend to have naturally larger pupils than adults. All right, so when all these people that are submitting pictures of their children to the Facebook group, that's the first thing I take into consideration is that, okay, this is a child. So they tend to have larger pupils than adults. It indicates that the sympathetic nervous system is causing the fight or flight response is dominant. And it's the sympathetic nervous system that's in control when people are in trauma or severely frightened. So in adults, they tend to have problems with poor digestion. They often have trouble with adrenal exhaustion, tendency for spastic conditions. You also need to understand too that certain medications can cause this. And so they're again asking the questions, you know, is somebody on a medication? Because medication can cause pupils to be enlarged. Poisoning, if somebody has become poisoned from crop sprays, drugs, that can cause the pupils to be enlarged. Also, if somebody's had an automobile accident, there's somebody in my class that had an accident. And if somebody has had a severe head injury, there's somebody in my class that has had a head injury. So the question is, these two people that are in my class, are their pupils enlarged? That is a good question. So these are some things that can cause enlarged pupils. If they're abnormally dilated, then that could be due to trauma. And also if the pupils are fixed. So if you you go to the eye doctor and they shine the light in your pupil, in your eyes, with your pupils, they're looking to see if your pupils are going to constrict or if they're going to just stay fixed. They're not supposed to stay fixed. And then we have the opposite here. Here's small pupils. This is really interesting. These are my father-in-law's eyes. And in learning about this, one of the things it says is when somebody has very small pupils, that they can exhibit a marked changeability. So one day they can be very rigid, and one day they can be flexible and praising and they could go sarcastic, and he was just like that. It's really interesting to learn some of these things, and if you know people that have these markings in their eyes, it gives you a little bit better understanding, right? So small pupils tend to indicate that the parasympathetic nervous system is dominant. And that's the system that creates a more relaxed state in the body. Okay, this is the nervous system that governs sleep, digestion, and elimination. So it's very interesting about the marked changeability back and forth. They also can have a slow heart rate, contracted blood vessels, which he had. And I don't know about the slow heart rate. And it's interesting. I bet he did have a slow heart rate. I don't know. You know, the more you study iridology, if you get into iridology, the more you study iridology, the more you're going to do what I just did. You know, you're going to see something, you're going to see a sign, and it's going to kind of click. You know, or you're going to see something in an eye, and it's just going to make sense to you. It may take a while for it to make sense. It may take a while for you to connect the dots, but that's kind of how it works. At least that's how it works for me. You know, I see something, and then this is one of my favorite videos. I got this on the web. I was looking for a way to show what pulsating means, and I found this. This is a cool video. Pulsating means exactly that. When you shine the light in somebody's eye, their pupil is not supposed to do this. The pupil is supposed to constrict. And I have had a few people where I'll shine the light in their eye, keep the light there, and I'll see their pupil just constrict, enlarge, and do this. And it's like, whoa, what's going on here? Of course, you don't want to do that, right? So, and this is called hippus, when the pupil pulsates. Yeah, so basically when the pupil's large, it lets in too much light. And when it's small, it lets in too little light. And this constant change can irritate the central nervous system. So they're swinging back and forth between the constricted pupil and the enlarged pupil. This can lead to shattered nerves. So if you know somebody, or if you look in somebody's eyes and you see this, you know, then this tells you what questions. This type can swing back and forth with physical and psychological traumas. So they can have muscle cramping conditions, anxiety, fear, irritability, insomnia, you know, all kinds of things can happen. But that's what that looks like, pulsating pupil. Kind of creepy. So luckily we don't see that very often. Okay, here we have the same person with different size pupils. Look at that. And see there? That's not the person I worked with. These are not his eyes. He had blue eyes. But look how huge these pupils are. And this is with the light shining in them. They're supposed to be small. So you know when you see this, there's a problem, right? There's a problem. This is called unequal pupil diameters. So this when we see this, this type is constantly taking in too much light through one pupil and not enough through the other. So they'd obviously be taking in too much light from the enlarged pupil and not enough from the smaller pupil. This can cause irritation to the central nervous system and can manifest as nervousness, anxiety, or fatigue. Okay. Anxiety, nervousness. I do see this. When I work in the health food stores, I see a lot of things in the health food stores when people come in. And these are people, usually the people that I see in health food stores are people that have been going to the health food stores for a while. And they're people that are already on supplements because they've had health issues. Maybe they took medicine and they don't want to take it anymore. Or, you know, they had a health problem and they're working on it. So they're already working on their bodies, and they come to me to find out if their program needs to be tweaked. You know, I really do get that a lot. It's like, okay, this is what's going on with me. These are the supplements I'm taking. You know, can you look at my eyes and tell me if this is what I should or shouldn't be doing? So I look at their eyes and I can tell them their dispositions. I can't diagnose them, right? And I cannot say, well, you're taking milk thistle, and you're taking 6 a day, you should be taking 9 a day. I can't do that. What I can do is have them talk to the people that are walking around, the consultants. That's their job. They're the ones that have the ability in the health food store to do that kind of consulting. They know the terms to use. They know how to talk to people without getting themselves in trouble. At least they're supposed to. So, you know, I leave that for them. I give them their genetic predispositions. I tell them what I see with the eyes, and then they go talk to the product consultants. And that keeps me from prescribing and getting myself in trouble, which I don't want to do. So let's look at here's my son. Oh no, this is not my son's eye. But this is called pupil flattening. And I wanted to show you this because sometimes, I see this a lot in the iridology group. People will post their pictures and, you know, I'll give them information about I usually do color. I'll usually do the blue, the mixed, the brown eye. I usually will tell them their genetic tendencies. And then sometimes I'll see something else that'll stand out and I'll talk about that instead. And if I was to see this picture in the group, I would probably talk about that, the pupil flattening. The pupil's supposed to be perfectly round. And look here, it's not round, huh? If you look at it, it's flat here. This is called pupil flattening. And this indicates or can indicate irritation, injury, and spinal subluxations in that spinal region. So I would use a chiropractor. What I do is I tell the person, you know, where that flattening is. I give them the information, and then I send them to the chiropractor or whoever they see to work on their back to find out if they have problems in that area. And if they do, then the chiropractor can, you know, free that area up so that they can get good nerve energy again. So that's what pupil flattening looks like. And it can be any place on the pupil. It can be at the top, it can be on the side, it can be on the bottom, it can be on the edges, on the corners. This is just a picture I chose because it was pretty obvious that that's flat. It doesn't matter what color the eye is either. It can be blue, mixed, or brown. It can be anybody. So it's kind of the end of my iridology talk. Excuse me. What I wanted to mention is sclerology. And sclerology, I think, is so important. So if you're going to learn iridology, learn sclerology. And it happens that I'm so excited because my class that I'm teaching right now, I wrote a message to Leonard Melmer, who runs Brand Medicine, and he teaches sclerology. And I asked him if he'd be a guest speaker in my class, and he said yes. So we have a treat that's going to be coming. I'll have to talk to him about, you know, what he wants to talk about, but I'll have him talk about something in sclerology for us, and that'll be excellent. That'll be really great. So sclerology is we can see immediate and current data in the whites of the eyes. So Gino, I had Gino come and talk to the last class, and he also works with sclerology. And what he said was that the iris of the eye teaches our past, and the whites of our eyes teach us our present. So you can see, well, we can't see changes in the iris because the iris shows us our genetic tendencies. We can see changes in the whites. As people work on their body, we can see changes. So you see these eyes here, you see these sclera here, and all the yellows and the pinks that you can see in there. You know, that none of that should be there. All this yellow in here, it's pink. And then you can also see these little vessels. So in sclerology, we look at all these things. We look at these vessels and how dark they are, thick they are, if they curl or if they go straight, or you know, what they do. And then we also look at the colors. We look at the yellows and the pinks and the blues, anything that shows up and where it is, and spots. There's just so many things to look at. And it's a whole nother science. If you look up sclerology on the web, it's a whole nother science than iridology. And I know that IPA is going to be, you know, IPA's working with Leonard and IPA is going to be certifying in that as well. I just don't know when. I don't know if it's towards the end of this year. Maybe Kathy can elaborate on that when she talks, if she knows. So, but I know IPA is going to be offering that. So that's exciting. So that's the end of my talk. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. Thank you for coming on to my talk. And for those of you that were not able to be here live, thank you, and I will get the recording to you. I do have an ongoing class, and that started this last week and goes through the end of May. And then that's level 1, and then we will be moving into level 2 in June and July to hopefully complete up. And if you are interested in taking the class, it's not too late to join. I only went through 2 days, and so you can still join the class. Other classes that I'm teaching, I will do private classes. If you want to learn iridology privately, I will do that. We'll just work out our schedules. Group classes, more than happy to hold group classes, and one-on-one tutoring. I am available. So pretty much flexible, willing, interested, and I'm available, so you can contact me. So at this point, I'm going to stop the share. And I saw that there's a couple of chats. Kathy's going to be speaking now for probably about a half an hour. And we'll take a break. Let's see, anybody have any questions? I covered a lot of information, I think it's a good, hold on a second, Thelma. I think it's a good introduction for those of you that are already in the class. I'm hoping that it gave you some review. For those that are new, I'm hoping that it might have, excited you a little bit about what is possible with the eyes, what you could see in the eyes and what it means. And if you have questions and you want to talk to me later, I'm available. And yeah. So let me see. Thelma, you had a question.
Yes, the one the iris showed that was pulsating.
Yeah.
Now, you would definitely recommend that person to go see your eye doctor. Am I correct? Will you state that? Or
I might. I might be more inclined just to work with them. It has to do with the nervous system.
Okay.
It depends on what's going on, right? I'm going to get their intake form, and depending on why they came to me and what's going on is going to determine, what happens, right?
Yeah. Well, the reason why I asked that question because the nurse and I was working at the school, and we had a child, a middle school student, and I also saw that as well when the nurse, and we didn't know at that time what was going on, but we did tell the parents to take them, the child to the ER.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, now you know a little bit more. So if you see it again, once school gets back in session, and with the kids that you're working with, you've got some pretty heavy duty stuff going on.
Right.
So I expect that you would probably see that. Did you see that just from standing in front of him?
Well, no, it's when we put the pin light, we put the pin light, and then his pupil wasn't dilated or fixed. So, but once we saw that, we knew we had to go on and send him on.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm sure you did the right thing. It's always better to get it checked out. It's always better to be safe than sorry and get it checked out. So
yeah, because the nurse she ran to me, and at the time, that's what really brought me to you. I'm like, okay, I got to do some in-depth on this. So that's one of the reasons why I'm really in this class, because I need to know when I work around.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. Any other questions?
Brenda, could I make a comment on the pulsing pupils?
Yes, please do.
One of the things that I've seen when pupils pulsate, that it can be related to thyroid issues, and it can also be related to sugar metabolism. Okay, so that is when your body is trying to process sugar, and especially after someone has had a load of sugar or a lot of simple carbohydrates, because the pulse is going to keep time basically with the heartbeat. Okay, but when it continues to pulse, that it is so noticeable with the person, or you can see that related, that's going to be another channel that you want to have them look at. You want their thyroid to be examined at that point, and maybe sugar. Okay, so that's just what I've noticed. So that's all I wanted to comment.
That's perfect. You know, and there again, that's why you want to keep learning, because see, Kathy knows more than I do. Thank you, Kathy. We all, we all learn from each other, and that's so important. Okay, so at this point, does anybody need a break? Yeah? Okay, let's take a 5-minute break and I'll get set up with Kathy here. Okay. I'm going to stop the recording. We can restart, Kathy. How's that sound? Is that good?